So let's talk about radical Islam for a minute, and maybe we can use that as a entry point into discussing the relationship between religion and politics more broadly.
Yes.
And because I would really like to do that. So the first issue is, it's interesting to me that there are a variety of forward-looking leaders in the Muslim world who, for example, have been pushing forward the Abraham Accords, normalization of relations with Israel, but even more importantly, the establishment of truly productive relations. So it's obviously that within the broader confines of the Islamic world, the possibility for peace and productive peace exists.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So now then the next issue, I'm trying to work this out in the West in general. So, there's always a percentage of truly bad actors in any population.
Yes.
So the psychological data indicates that the prevalence of pure psychopathy in the population is, to be conservative, let's say 3%. So those are seriously bad actors. And we want to say a few things about the psychopathic types. Okay, so they're Machiavellian. They only use their language to manipulate for their own benefit, right? They're parasitic predators. That makes them psychopathic. They're narcissistic, which means they want undeserved attention and will do anything to get it. And to top it all off, because that's not enough, they have strong proclivity towards sadism, which is positive delight in the unnecessary suffering of others. Okay, so these are bad actors. Now, the question is, how do they operate? And we actually know the answer to that. They like to hide behind a mask of victimization, because that's very effective. So the psychopathic types are always claiming that they're the victims and that there are people they can identify as oppressors, and the moral thing is to stand with them. But the other thing they do is hijack the political agenda on both sides. So, for example, the psychopaths will use compassion to manipulate the left, and they'll use free speech issues to manipulate the right. But they don't care, because they're not political at all. What they are is out for themselves 100%. And then what even makes the situation more dire is that the psychological literature indicating that the psychopathic types can be rehabilitated is dismal, to say the least.
They can't.
It's
That's
no.
good to know.
No is the simple answer. And again, I'm speaking, let's say, of the 1% of criminals who are responsible for 65% of the crimes. It's not corrigible.
Okay.
Okay. Now, a person who deviates from the path of law and order and makes a mistake once, that's a whole different issue.
But I don't think that this is the explanation to what's going on in the Islamic world. Because while there are psychopaths, like Saddam Hussein was a psychopath, definitely, and Yahya Sinwar was a psychopath, I'm not sure other radical Islam leaders are necessarily psychopaths. I think they truly believe that the world needs to act according to Sharia law. Well, this is what I'm trying to untangle. It's such a difficult thing, because you have on the one hand the obvious fact that there's much movement in the Islamic world to establish peace with Israel, right, and to move their populations forward in a productive manner. But then you have this core, and separating out the religious claims from the manipulation of the religious claims by the self-interested psychopaths. That's a very difficult thing to manage. I think what undermines this case is the numbers. I don't have the data regarding what percentage of Muslims support radical Islam. I'm not saying they engage in terrorism, but they support. My hunch is a fairly high percentage, and we can't just attribute.
Are they better? Okay, I'm going to push back slightly, because
fine. We're
I'm
debating.
wondering, is that also because it's easier for the psychopathic, self-interested manipulators to manipulate a comparatively undereducated population and to get away with their claims that really what they're doing is abiding by the doctrines of the one true religion?
Right.
Because when you're dealing with a population whose fundamental ideational structure is encapsulated within a single religious viewpoint, it's a lot easier for the bad actors to manipulate that.
So they definitely use this First of all, to deflect all their incompetence.
Yes, definitely.
But that doesn't mean you're a psychopath. It just means, you're a cynical person that you want to continue governing. I've seen lots of people do that. And I think I'll tell you what I think about how we need to go about fighting radical Islam. And this is something that evolved. I think, especially in the case of Gaza, everyone asks me, but Hamas is an ideology and you can't kill an ideology. That's half true. I agree that there's no point in trying to persuade people, don't be radical, don't be Hamas supporters. Hamas enjoys a great popular support in the Palestinian population, about 2/3. But there is a way to get them away from Hamas by defeating Hamas. I'll give you an analogy. You probably know way better than me. Let's a hypothesis. Had we done a poll in Nazi Germany in December of 1944, right? Everyone knew where it's going. My belief, I have no basis for this, is that a vast majority of Germans still supported the Nazi ideology.
It's likely, very likely, yeah.
Now, within several years after the war, we had a new Germany. What happened was there was a step before persuading their hearts and minds that Nazism is bad. There was something way more important, that Nazism is gone. Mm-hmm. So first defeat Hamas, first defeat the Nazis. And so it's no longer a matter of whether it's good or bad. It's gone. It's gone. We killed them. They're done. Now get on with life. And only then, I think, I'm asking you actually, psychologically, can the individual open his mind to hear other arguments?
I think there is. Well, first of all, we hope so.
That's what I think that we need to do. We need to defeat Hamas and then begin changing the hearts and minds.